Hello, this is Karen, and we are going to step through this example with a live demo, and I'm going to be using CodeBoard for this example. When you go to CodeBoard, you will create a new project. I'm going to name it with my last name, and I'm going to call it Demo Methods. I want to create a Java project and choose Create. Open the IDE and go to our main program. In this example, we are going to capture or create a username and assign it to a variable called username. So I'm going to call a method called createUsername. I know it's a method because I'm putting a parentheses after that, and because I've planned out that I'm going to create a method. And so when I call that method, it's going to go to this line of code that I had previously written, and it's going to start executing that method. Line 12, if I explain this method just a little bit, the word public means that I have access to the method. Static means I don't have to declare an object to execute the method. String is my return type, and that means somewhere in this method I'm going to have to return a string. And right now we don't know what that string is going to be. I'm just holding a place value there by saying I'm going to return a string. And so this particular method doesn't have any values being inputted because there's nothing inside the parameter. And so I'm going to create everything within the method. So I'm creating a username. I'm going to use a couple of variables. I'm going to use my pet's name to create a username. My pet is Copper. And I'm going to use my pet's age, which is 2. Please notice the first variable is a string. We use capital S on the string to declare that variable. The second variable is an integer, and I use the reserved word int to declare the integer. I'm going to create a third string variable called username, and I'm going to assign it my pet name plus pet age. Please notice there is going to be no space between pet name and pet age. It's going to append or just put together Copper and 2. So the result is going to look like the following in main, Copper 2. If I wanted to add some additional characters in there or a space for whatever reason, I would literally have to put a space in quotes and then add the pet age. But that's not what we did. Lastly, we are going to return that variable, and now that I have it named, I'm going to change this to returning username. That value will be sent back to main when that method is called, and it will be assigned to the variable username in main. Please note the variable username in main is separate than the variable username in the method. Those two variables have different scopes. Back in main, I'm going to output then the username so we can verify what we think it was supposed to be is actually what it outputted. So back in main, we are going to output this code. In this environment, I need to compile first. It compiled successfully, and then I run. And it says your username is Copper, and so it compiled successfully. A couple of things when you are creating code like this. Number one, if I had left my temporary variable in there, let's see what would happen if I hit compile. I'd get some type of an error message. It says a string cannot find that symbol, which means that it doesn't recognize that variable. Oh, that's because I didn't define it. You always have to define variables in Java. So that's one hint. If it ever says it cannot find the symbol, it is either a typo or you haven't declared the variable. Another thing that often happens is I forget a semicolon. So if I leave my semicolon off and I hit compile, I get an error message that a semicolon is expected. So it sometimes is quite useful on giving me some clues as to what went wrong. Sometimes we put an extra statement in or an extra assignment statement in the wrong place. If I hit compile again, the error message I get is it cannot identify username. And now this error is a little bit harder to find because the code doesn't recognize what I actually was trying to do, and I was just trying to make an error, so it didn't recognize maybe what I was doing. And so when I delete that assignment statement or that equal sign, then it compiles and then I can run successfully. So you might want to try to make some mistakes on purpose because that gives you an idea of what the compiler will do to show you the error messages.